When starting to draw the tiger, it's important to remember your measuring techniques. And in this series of drawings, symmetrical balance drawings, I've mainly used sight size and relational proportion. In all of them, I'm not using them to fidelity. So I am kind of eyeballing and measuring in my mind. And this tiger is no exception. I did the same thing for the tiger. Just like with the owl, it's important to understand that you are not going to be able to draw individual strands of hair. It's better to think of it as patches or swaths of color and value. So there's sections that are dark, there's sections that are light. In the three-dimensional world, things are not defined by line, they're defined by value and color. It's important to realize that and accept that and not try to use any heavy lines to define anything. So you can see I'm not trying to clearly outline the stripes, for example. When I do draw, I leave a very loose indication of where the stripe begins and where it ends. This project actually ended up being a little bit easier than I had first anticipated because there is a lot of white in the tiger. And since you're going to use mostly the white of the paper, technically you don't really have to go into those areas too heavily. Just like the other videos, this one is also sped up to double the speed. So it took me roughly a little bit more than an hour, around an hour and 12 minutes to get this one done. So far, the owl has been the one that has taken the longest. The owl took about 2 hours. And I had anticipated that this one might be similar to that, but since it's smaller and it has a lot of white in it, I assume that's why it didn't take as long. You see, for the stripes there on top of the head, I'm trying to mirror the original image. And also, I'm not, like I said before, I'm not creating this dark, heavy outline around it. Also, I'm fully conscious and aware that I'm going to go back in with a color pencil. And so I don't want to make my pencil marks too dark. Though I really haven't experienced a problem with the graphite mixing with the color pencil lead. But graphite does tend to have a sheen. It does tend to reflect light. And it's better to keep the use of your pencil to a minimum, especially if you know you're going to go in with color pencils. There's no particular reason I'm using a mechanical pencil here. I think a mechanical pencil would work just as well as a well-sharpened wooden pencil. Now, for the minute details, maybe a mechanical pencil does offer an advantage. So that's something to consider. Even though overall this project was quicker than the owl, the drawing part of it actually took a little bit longer because of all of the little minute details with the tiger stripes. I did try to be as accurate as possible, at least in reflecting what I saw on the other side. When it comes to projects like these, especially the animals, they turn out well because, again, we're not super familiar with these animals. So they look okay to our brains, even though something might be seriously wrong. So not matching the other side doesn't make or break the drawing. Like when you do a human, if you don't match the other side, it does make or break the drawing. So if things are a little bit off, no need to worry. Not with the animals, anyways. Again, sometimes students ask if they need to do the background. And typically I say no, but I think you should. It's not going to give you, you're not going to get a bad grade if you don't do the background, but it's important to consider artistically that backgrounds are meaningful. Nothing exists in reality without a background. So is it going to affect your grade if you don't do the background? No, but artistically speaking, and for the sake of your knowledge, you should do it. You can start this any number of ways. I decided to start with the black, but it doesn't have to be that way. You could start, there aren't that many colors in this actually. So your options are really limited to orange, black, or the pink of the nose. So, pick one and then go for it. And this one is actually pretty nice. I think most of you will get a pretty good result because it's really not that complex. So I hope that when I see your tigers, that they're done well and are visually appealing. For that, those whiskers, right, or the muzzle, um, try to use a little bit of pointillism. So you don't want to make it a straight line. You want to make it like dots that connect, right? For the eye, it's very important that you try to match the curve above the eye so as to not accidentally impose any emotion on the tiger that isn't there. So if you make the eyebrow too straight or if you make the eyebrow too high, humans are always looking for emotions and things. And so a really curved eyebrow might be like a shocked type of look or a curious type of look. So try to avoid that really. Now, right there on the inside of the eye, I think I did leave that white spot a little bit too strong. But there is a little highlight in that black area that if you could keep it, that would be preferable. So by varying the pressure that you put around the eye, you may be able to keep that slight highlight in that black area around the tiger's eye. Same thing is happening in the mouth. Like on the references side, you could see that there's a little highlight. And even in the drawing right now, you can see that I kind of kept that in there, right? Now, surprisingly enough, I didn't use too much of the white for this project, or honestly, I don't know if I used it at all. You could use it. I just didn't really see the need. I used it in a lot of the other ones for blending, but I think that in the areas that look gray, by putting streaks using the black color pencil, a very sharpened black color pencil, I think that it kind of creates that illusion that it's gray. Not much to say here. I just go in and start darkening all of these areas. Try to make sure that they keep their unique shape. If it becomes too, what's the word? Too systematic, then it'll obviously be fake. Most of this drawing is just, you know, shading in these areas of black, right? At this stage, I'm starting to admire it. It almost looks like a white tiger. It's visually interesting. And I'm starting to put in the background. For this one, I found that just starting with a gray was acceptable, and then putting the individual colors in seemed to give me a favorable result. You'll see. So I have to correct myself because for the background, I did use white to create the gray. Well, earlier in the video, I said that I hadn't used it. Now here, just like the owl, I'm going in and slowly adding the colors. And what you'll see me do in a moment is also use my eraser to bring out those white spots, which I really think gave it a nice touch to mirror the other side. There you can see what a nice touch using the eraser adds. And it really does mirror the other side. Now I'm finally going in with some of the, well, one of the two colors that we see here. This is just a red, or like red orange. And you can see the nose could have been a little bit higher, but so be it. That's the type of mistake that when you're drawing a human makes a big difference. And you start going in with the orange. It's pretty straightforward. Put the orange where you see it. Add more pressure if you see it anywhere darker. I think for the nose part, which is a little bit darker, I mixed black and also some of that orangish brown that I have. When coloring in the eye, try to make sure that the bottom is a little bit lighter than the other sides. That's why you saw me go in there with the yellow just to make sure that it has a little bit of extra shine. Remember that the side opposite of the highlight is going to have a little bit of extra shine. When trying to darken the bridge of the nose here, a hatching and a cross hatching is not going to cut it. You do need to use like a stippling technique, like tiny little dots. And that's what I try to do to darken the value there. Black also isn't really the right color. It does warrant more of that warm brown. In retrospect, I could have done a better job with the nose. That the area that I left for that white is a little bit too large. But here, this is just about done. In order to put these whiskers in, you do need like a specialized marker again, same type that I use for the butterfly, because the whiskers will contrast against the dark areas of the tiger stripes. And you see here I am putting in the suggestion of these hairs, right? This is what I had mentioned before in the beginning of the video, that I didn't really use white in these areas because I'm just being directional with it, and I'm kind of putting these lines in there to indicate that there's hair there, fur. And this is really like one of the finishing touches for me. Could it be better? Of course. It could be better. If I had examined it a little bit more closely, taken a little bit more time with my measurements. But I'm pretty happy with the result here. For those whiskers, I did use that Sharpie. I really like that Sharpie. I recommend it if you can find it. As of 2025, it's a relatively new product, not super easy to find. But if you can get your hands on it, especially that white one, I really recommend it. Here's that Sharpie. Now, when I use it, I try to create as thin a line as possible, but even that is too thick. So it's important to realize that I have to go back in later and control those lines. There was a line down there that's kind of a little bit too straight, a little bit too systematic, but it can be controlled. So you go back in with your black color pencil and you just thin them out, and it creates a pretty good result. And as soon as you see me do that, I think that that is it for this video. And that is it for this series of symmetrical balance drawings. I will see you guys in class. I hope that this one is helpful to at least some of you. Bye.